Hello, One Piece players. It has been a while, I know, but today I come with glad tidings specifically for you, Purple Yellow Croc players. For I have a new gospel for you. I call it the Gospel of the Chicken and the Egg. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, don't worry about it. I will explain it to you. And hopefully, by the end of this video, you will have come and be converted into the Church of Chicken Croc. Now sit back and enjoy. Okay, so if you are a veteran Purple Yellow Croc player, then you know that in the past, the deck has struggled to keep up with some of the meta defining decks, you could say. For example, just any kind of black deck that just clears your board and then plays Moria and puts pressure. You know, you've had a tough time keeping up with that board state against black, or against decks that are just so aggro and so fast that you can't even make it to your 8 Dawn turn or 9 Dawn turn to play Croc or Yamato. I'm looking at you, Red Purple Law, in the past. But since it's getting bad, we don't have to worry about that anymore. But there are still some very fast aggro decks that is just kind of hard to keep up. But anyways, to get to the point, those kind of decks have been kind of the bane of the existence for Purple Yellow Croc, because when you play against those decks, like, you just feel like your deck crumbles. Nothing sticks on the board long enough for you to have any presence at all. But that is the beauty of this new deck, because in OP08 we have some really good big mom pirate cards that actually work so well with your leader ability. Even better than, I guess, they were aiming for pudding, the new Purple Yellow pudding to use. But it works so much better in Purple Yellow Croc. Now, what are those three? Let's go ahead and check them out. Okay, now please permit me to start my converting process in this new gospel. So the three new cards that I'm talking about are Baron Tamago, Viscount Hyoko, and Count Niwatori. So you can see they're eggs and chickens. So what are these cards, and why do I think they're going to be so good in Croc? Well, first of all, these cards are what I would call just like recyclable cards. They recycle each other, where to the point where you can practically have a board all the time, and that mitigates a lot of Purple Yellow Croc's weakness. So let's start with the first one. The first one is Baron Tamago, 3 cost, a blocker, and let's read his effect. So on KO, Dawn -1. Play up to 1 Viscount Hyoko with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. Okay. This one is actually the weakest one out of these three, and is also the only one that requires you to have a card that you want to play, that it brings out in your hand. The rest don't require that, but this one is important to have, as we'll see in a bit. But yes, Baron Tamago is the basic form, the egg form, as you will, is the baby form of these two. And it just brings out a Hyoko, which is a 5 cost 6k attack from your hand. So let's read what Hyoko does. So on opponent's turn, on KO, you Dawn -1. Play up to 1 Count Niwatori with a cost of 6 or less from your deck, and then you shuffle your deck. This is where the spice starts happening, because now with Hyoko, if it dies, you can start bringing out a bigger body, not from your hand, but from the deck. And that makes a world of a difference. And now, if you are not familiar with Purple Yellow Croc's ability, the Dawn -1 effect of these cards shouldn't bother you at all. Like, not at all, because of the leader's ability. What it says is that when you -1 Dawn on your opponent's turn, you just get that Dawn back, and it's set as active. So it's like you're not even minusing a Dawn at all. So that's why these cards fit so well with Croc's ability. Now let's read Count Niwatori, what he does. So on opponent's turn, again on KO, Dawn -1. play up to one Baron Tamago with a cost of 4 or less from your deck, and then shuffle your deck. So these three are just recycling each other out. So let's assume you start with the perfect hand. You have Tamago on turn 3. You play him. Your opponent attacks next turn, but you have the Hyoko in hand. You block, you don -1, and you play the Hyoko. Now you can attack with the Hyoko. Your opponent tries to kill the Hyoko. You let him kill the Hyoko. And now you bring a Niwatori back from the deck. And so on and so forth. And so Niwatori plays the Baron Tamago from your deck, not from your hand. And so this constant recycling of these three cards means that you have a board. You have a blocker to protect yourself in case, you know, things are going really bad. You have attackers, Viscount Hyoko. You have Niwatori. Both of these cards, 6k attack for the 5 cost, 7k attack for the 6 cost. They're both really good numbers, honestly. They get past 6k blockers, which are very prevalent in the meta nowadays. A 7k attack into leaders, always really good. No one's going to complain about that. So this constant recycling of these cards, these three cards alone make the black matchup for purple yellow Croc just infinitely better. I have a video at the end, some gameplay footage that you can see. You will be able to see just how it makes things so much more complicated for the black player to try and clear your board and just control the board in general. Now, the problem, I wouldn't say a problem, but a definitely weakness is probably blue, where they can just bottom deck these guys with like Gravity Blade. But even then, it's not too much of a problem, because if they Gravity Blade the Niwatori, the Hyoko, whatever, and you have another one in hand, it's okay, because if they die, the ones that they Gravity Blade, you can just play them back from your deck anyway. So it's like, they're just kind of adding fuel to your deck, as long as you have more copies of it in your hand, or if you draw them. So it's not a big deal. I wouldn't say it's a big counter, but it is something to keep in mind, and it's not, again, not a big deal. You do have to be very careful though against yellow, because if you have a Hyoko and a Niwatori on your board and you're attacking, if you attack with them on their turn and they trigger like a Nami, it would only have to be a Nami against Hyoko, because I don't think they can, unless you have a lot of life and they have a lot of life and they trigger Kingdom Come, then they can kill something even bigger like Niwatori. But if they get KO'd during your turn, you don't get their effect. It has to be on the opponent's turn, at least for Niwatori and Hyoko. That for Tamago, it doesn't matter. It can be KO'd as long as it's KO'd on any turn. It does not matter. You do have to be careful for the Brook and other cards that say that that trash a card, not KO a card. So I know there's some new cards in OP08 that have that description. So you do have to be careful with those. But those are very kind of niche cards, and overall they are still played, but your opponent's going to have that answer at that specific time. So, and the chances of them having that answer at that specific time is kind of low. So just keep that in mind when playing these cards. But these three cards, I feel, are just really good in the deck, and I think there could be core in the purple yellow deck. 4 copies of each, I think, and you can still include the other staple Baroque Works cards for the deck. So we'll go ahead and look at what my current deck list is for this. So here is the deck list that I'm using. I'm running pretty standard, like purple yellow Baroque stuff. So Miss Valentine, 4 copies. Miss Wednesday, 4 copies. And then 4 copies of both the 2Ks. So Miss Doublefinger, Miss Friday. I've also added Bon Clay. I know back in OP06, beginning of OP07, a lot of people were not using Mr. 2 as much, just because he was pretty slow in the meta. And at the time I also agreed with that assessment. Right now, I think it's kind of doable, but I do think Mr. 2 is a slot that you can mess around with if you want 4 copies, 1 copy, 2 copy, or 0 copies, whatever. I think that's a slot where you can kind of mess around with and to add other stuff that you think might be good. But overall, I think the must-haves for this deck is the Miss Valentine, 4 copies. Even Miss Wednesday, I think that's good too. I have it at 4, but I think 3, maybe 2 is good. The reason why is because there's some decks that you want to ramp as quickly as possible. That's why you have Mr. 2 and Miss Wednesday. They're there just in case, and they also help. So having copies of Mr. 2 and Miss Wednesday, along with 4 copies of Baron Tamago, Count Niwatori, and Hyoko, like, it kind of helps the odds of you having just something to do in the early turns. Whether that something to do is to ramp with Miss Wednesday or Mr. 2, or if that something is to kind of have a strong board presence with Hyoko or Niwatori before getting into your Crocodile, your Yamato, or your Big Mom turn. Like, the options are there. That's why I have 4 copies of each one of these cards. But I do think that the list can be kind of tweaked around a bit to fit your own playstyle. Maybe you want a very aggressive kind of purple yellow Croc deck. Niwatori and Hyoko do that, and you can even add the 3-cost. There is a 3-cost purple Baroque Works card. I forget her name. Let me check it out really quick. Yes, Miss Monday, who's a 3-cost 5k attack, who has an on-play ability where she triggers Dawn -1 on play. If your character has, or your leader has Baroque Works, give it a 1k power. So it's a very kind of early on aggressive attack, and if you trigger it on your opponent's turn, it brings up your leader attack to 6k, which makes it easier to defend. So that's also an option. But I think this one is the most. It's pretty, not the most, but a pretty well-rounded deck list. You have your early game with different combos that you can pull off depending on your matchup, where if you want to make sure you have a board, or if you can like forego the early board stuff and just quickly ramp to your big guys, you have that option. And of course you have your Come My Way to help you kind of redirect attacks and keep you safe. So it has that package, and I think this is a pretty solid kind of deck list. But again, there is some wiggle room. We do run 12 2k counters. Some people are okay with, bringing that number down a bit to like 8 or 10. You can do that. Again, the Mr. 2s are also kind of a flexible spot. So as you can see, I have 4 Crocs, I have 3 Yamatos, and 3 of the new OP08 Big Mom, which helps out a lot too in gaining life and kind of putting some kind of control on the board. So that works really good. And also, I know a lot of people were big fans in OP07, OP06. They were big fans of the Come My Way combo with with Okiku. I think that's her name. Yeah, with Okiku, where she would die and on KO she would be able to Kiku no Jo. Sorry, not Okiku. Kiku no Jo. Where on KO you would get a life, and that was a great combo. The only problem was that like Kiku no Jo was just didn't have. If she was in your hand, she was pretty much a dead card in your hand, and getting her to trigger from your life was always kind of hard because it felt like you didn't have enough time to attack life because you had to control the board. And so your opponent was never at 3 life, or even if Kiku no Jo was in your life, it would be, you'd probably not trigger her anyways because your opponent was at 4 or 5 life because you've been dealing with the board. So that combo is not here, but there is still combo potential with Oka My Way and chickens and the eggs. So let me go ahead and explain that even further. Okay, so the combo potentials with Oka My Way, specifically for like Count Niwatori, it's that like there's been situations in my games where maybe I'm down to like one life, and the opponent has several attackers. If you have Count Niwatori and Oka My Way in your if you have Oka My Way in your hand and you have Count Niwatori on the field, essentially these two cards, if you have them, they can pretty much protect you from two attacks. Simply because, let's say you take life, you take your final attack or your final life, and your opponent still has like two attacks left. They attack. You can redirect Oka My Way to Count Niwatori, so -1 Dawn, but you get that back with your leader ability. You let Count Niwatori die. You Dawn -1 for his ability, and then you can play the blocker Baron Tamago from your deck to the field active. So it's essentially you kind of give Niwatori blocker, and Niwatori brings you back another blocker from the deck, which potentially blocks the second attack. So that combo is still there to kind of help you, like a last-ditch effort to get to the next turn to close out the game. So that combo is there. It's not the it's honestly it's the same thing as playing the Kiku no Jo combo, because Kiku no Jo, she blocks a hit, she gives you a life, which is essentially the same thing as Count Niwatori blocks a hit, gets you a blocker. So it's almost the same thing, not one for one. I know Kiku no Jo can increase the chances of like maybe the card that you get from life is a beige, which blocks an additional attack. That that's always there, but it's not one for one, but it's pretty close. The idea is that it helps mitigate at least two attacks, just for like one or minusing 1 Dawn or 2 Dawn, 1 Dawn with your leader ability. But yeah, so that combo is still there. So it gives Purple Yellow Croc this kind of multi-dimensional aspect in your games where you can use your Niwatoris defensively, offensively. It gives you that flexibility, and I think good decks have flexibility where it helps you adjust to your different games, because you playing this deck into different matches, into different leaders, it's going to play out differently. Some matches you're going to want to play your big bodies and just overwhelm that way. Against black, you're just going to like go all in on Niwatori and your eggs and your chickens, like just always being on the field, constantly annoying the black player because they can't clear them out, and then playing out your big guys and then just kind of slowly overwhelming them that way. So that is the deck. I do have some gameplay footage against Moria, so you can kind of see how the black matchup goes, at least against Moria. But I encourage you guys to try out this combo, this core of the chickens and the eggs, and then maybe create your own like Baroque Works cards or core into these three guys. Include them. Maybe you can be flexible with your deck building, and just let me know how yours list came out, similar or different from mine. But overall, I think these three new cards from OP08 just give Croc a really good boost in the right direction. And honestly, I think they're really fun to play. I can't wait to play this at locals and watch black players just like scratch their heads trying to figure out how to clear my board with these like Niwatoris and whatnots. And well, anyways, I hope you guys like my video, and let me know how your deck building works in OP08. Have fun, everybody. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and try our luck against Moria. They chose to go second, so we go first. Not too bad. We'll try this, just because we have a searcher. And we have this to play. I think mostly because of these two cards, this makes it a little bit better. So we'll just swing for 6. And then play Miss Valentine. We'll get that. It's the only target. And then what are we gonna discard? No, there is no... Okay. No Perona, so we don't have to discard anything. We'll just take this. Okay, goodbye, Miss Valentine. We'll take... Okay. So... we could play Mr. 2, get down to 6, and the next turn is 8, but I don't think we're going to play Croc on 8 anyway, so I think we'll just go as planned and go with Hyoko. So he takes it for 1. Alright, so that's good. And then next turn we can play Mr. 2. Okay. Oh, well, there goes all his E-shows. That's good. But there's a Perona now. That's not good. Yeah. Precious Kaido, what are we going to... do we forgo the... I might have to just, let go of the... well, next turn is his 8th on turn. We're just gonna have to let go of this one then. As much as I don't want to. We got this, so that's cool. Do we have enough 2Ks here? Next turn is 7. I can play both. Nah, I'll just get a 2K just to be safe. We're gonna discard something right here, anyways. Okay, never mind. All of that was for nothing. So we definitely need to play Mr. 2 to get an 8. So next turn we can play Croc and probably counter his Moria. So then that will leave us with 4 more Dawn open. And you can just attack. We'll attack. Okay. I'll do 3 here. We'll attack. Okay, get rid of his hand. He's just getting rid of his hand for Gecko, probably. Alright. And then just leave 1 up, just in case, for Okamaway. Yeah, I really hate that they changed it to Okam My Way, not Okamaway. Sounds... I don't know why they did that for English, but oh well. Alright. Miss Valentine is gone. Probably gonna want... oh no, no Moria. Interesting. Oh, do we take that? I kind of do. It's all good. I'm singing it now. Oh, okay. Gets the Moria. Alright, we'll just counter out of it. No biggie. Is he gonna swing with these two or play like a blocker? I'm not sure. Play a blocker. Gotcha. Alright, I guess it's time to put on some pressure. Let's go 7. Yeah, just having a body with these guys always is just so good, I think. Alright, we're gonna just do one more. And then we're just gonna play the Croc. Takes it, perfect. And then we'll leave this standing up just so it can attack. It'll probably get cleared anyways, but we don't want to make it too easy. We want to have to force him to clear, because he can, if he Morias, he already has a Helmeppo. And if he has Ice Age, yeah, that. So at least keeping this guy up. Well, alright, it's not going to play it. That's fine. I have another one of these, so these are fine. You can take one life. Although I might want to defend him. Don't want to. If I have a big body like that, so okay, 5. I think I can take 5. That's cool. Another 5. We'll counter out of this one. 6. We will counter out of that too. Another 6. Let's try and find a big guy. He's probably gonna attack for another 6. Okay, this is good. Even better. Okay. Go 7 again. Okay. He's running out of cards. We're just gonna heal again. And just play the Croc. Alright. And we'll still leave this guy. I think he's putting a lot of pressure. Just having these two up, he has to choose which one to KO. That must be pretty hard on him. And then just like recycling itself. Like he can't. It's hard for him to clear everything. That's why like with these 3 guys, these 3, it's just like it's really good. It's really good against black. Maybe not so much against blue, but if they're like if they use gravity blade on you, then they're gonna have a hard time just spamming the board, if you're, like, assuming it's Stofy. But it's fine. Even if they go back into the deck, you can play them from the deck, so it's not too big of a problem. That's why I like them. And yeah, GG's. Can't really do anything. So yeah, hope that kind of shows you the power of just recycling these guys from the deck and how it works so well with Croc's ability. So anyways, thank you for watching the video.